So, the first topic of January current affairs is separation of power. So, separation of power in Indian polity means judiciary, legislative, and executive being independent of each other. There are some articles which support for the separation of power, like Article 50. Article 50 states that judiciary should be separated from executive. Article 361. This states that the president or governor shall not be answerable to any court for their exercise of duties. Article 105 and 194, these articles states that the MPs and MLAs should not be called by the courts for whatever they speak in the parliament sessions. Article 122 and 212 says that the courts cannot inquire into the proceedings of the parliament or state legislature. So all these articles, that is Article 50, 361, 105, 194, 122 and 212 support for the separation of power concept. On the other side, there are few articles which give more power to judiciary than other two bodies. So these articles are Article 13. Article 13 is judicial review. Judicial review means the judiciary can say its opinion or criticize the works done by the legislative or executive. This is Article 13. So this article gives more power to judiciary to criticize or give its opinion upon the legislative activities and executive activities. Article 32 and 226, these are right to constitutional remedies. So that means if any fundamental rights of the people are violated, if your right to speech or um, anything, any fundamental rights are violated by the executive or legislature, then you have the right to go to the court and get your justice. So here also Supreme Court is given more power than other two bodies. Next is Article 142. 142 is it gives extraordinary powers to the Supreme Court to do complete justice. So here Article 32 is right to constitutional remedies. You can approach to the Supreme Court. Article 226 is you can approach to High Court if your fundamental rights are violated. So here Article 13, Article 32, 226, 142, all these articles gives more importance to judiciary. So these articles speak about separation of power, but gives more importance to judiciary. So this topic was in news because the executive demanded to include its representatives in collegium system. So here you can see here demand of executive representation in collegium system has started debate over the doctrine of separation of power in the Indian constitutional setup. So now what is this collegium system? Collegium system is a system through which the judges are appointed or transferred in the Supreme Court or High Courts. So this collegium system contains 5 senior most Supreme Court judges and the CJI. They will decide on the appointments and transfers of Supreme Court and High Court. So now the executive is also demanding to include them in the collegium system. So this is like making executive involved in the judicial matters, and it is against the separation of power. So there are 6 important judgments of Supreme Court which talked about the separation of power. So there are, first is Keshwananda Bharati and ORS versus State of Kerala. So in this case, the Supreme Court has stated that the basic structure of the constitution cannot be amended. So the doctrine of separation of power is also part of basic structure, but it is not specifically mentioned. Okay, in Keshwananda Bharati case, it says that doctrine of separation of power is a part of basic structure, but it is not mentioned in the constitution, not specifically mentioned. Okay, next is IR Coelho versus State of Tamil Nadu. So in this case, Supreme Court stated that judicial review, where judicial review means the Supreme Court or High Court gives its opinion upon the legislative and executive activities or criticizes those activities. So in this case, Supreme Court stated that judicial review is a violation of separation of power to certain legislations. So next is Ram Javaya Kapoor versus State of Punjab. So in this case, Supreme Court has stated that in our constitution, doctrine of separation of power is not recognized, but differentiated the three branches of the government. So here, the Supreme Court clearly stated that separation of power is not recognized, but the constitution has differentiated the three bodies. So this is about Ram Javaya Kapoor case. Next is P. Kannadasan versus State of Tamil Nadu. So in this case, the Supreme Court turned down the unconstitutional laws made by the parliament and legislatures, and the constitution has told that the constitution has more power, given more power to the courts. So if there is any unconstitutional laws made by the parliament, then in that case the courts have the power to turn down those laws. So this is about the Kannadasan case. Next is Golaknath and versus State of Punjab, and Kartar Singh versus State of Punjab. In these both cases, the Supreme Court has given almost the same judgment. That is, the Supreme Court stated that all the three organs of the government are expected to exercise their functions within their limits. So this is about all the six cases which where the Supreme Court told its opinion upon the separation of power. Next, recently a private member bill was also introduced in the Rajya Sabha called National Judicial Commission Bill 2022. So this bill aims to regulate the appointments, transfer and impeachment of High Court judges and Supreme Court judges through the National Judicial Commission. So in this commission, all the transfers, appointments, impeachments can be done. And it also aims to investigate on complaints of Supreme Court or High Court judges for misbehavior or incapacity. So according to this bill, National Judicial Commission will be the main organization where the appointments of Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, or removal of them, or transferring them are done. Okay, so this body consists of 6 members. One is CGI, who is a chairman, and two other senior most judges will be there, and Union Minister of Law and Justice will be there. So this two senior most judges and Union Minister of Law and Justice will be the ex officio members, and two other eminent members will be appointed by a committee. This committee consists of Prime Minister, CJI, and opposition leader of Lok Sabha, and also one a member nominated from SC, ST or OBC or a woman. So by forming by forming a committee, 2 members will be nominated. So this is about the National Judicial Commission Bill 2022. But before also, in the year 2014, National Judicial Appointment Commission was also introduced through 99th Constitutional Amendment Act. Here also executive members would be present in this commission. So here also Supreme Court in this National Judicial Appointment Commission 2014, this commission was declared unconstitutional and null and void, and 99th Constitutional Amendment Act also was rejected by the Supreme Court. So let's see what will happen in this bill. So this is about the separation of Supreme Court's views on separation of power, and also this National Judicial Commission Bill.